The Krath warpack had conquered 17 species across 4 spiral arms of the galaxy. Their boarding tactics were legendary, their warriors bred for close-quarters combat, their exoskeletons capable of withstanding sustained plasma fire. When their dreadnought, the Vexthor, intercepted a lone human cargo vessel designated Murphy's Gambit near the Kepler Drift, Commander Zexthal clicked his mandibles in what his species considered laughter. "Another soft species," he transmitted to his pack. "Their vessel is unarmed. Scan shows minimal crew. We board, we plunder, we add another trophy to our collection." The 30 Krath warriors that assembled in the breach pod were the elite of the elite. Each stood nearly 8 feet tall, their chitinous armor gleaming under the red combat lighting. They had never failed a boarding action. Today would be no different, or so they thought. The breach pod struck the hull of Murphy's Gambit with a metallic shriek, cutting torches flaring to life. Within moments, they had carved an entrance into what appeared to be a cargo bay. Zexthal was first through, his plasma rifle charged and ready. The bay was dimly lit and cluttered with containers. "Too easy, far too easy. Spread out," he ordered. "Secure the lights went red. Not the red of their combat lighting, but a pulsing crimson accompanied by a sound that made even Krath warriors pause. A wailing alarm that seemed designed to trigger primal fear responses. Then came the voice. It boomed through hidden speakers in a language the Krath's translators struggled to process, each word dripping with barely controlled fury. "Hull breach detected. Initiating defense protocol. Baker 7. All crew to safe rooms, engaging border countermeasures." Before Zexthal could respond, the deck plates beneath his warriors' feet erupted. What the Krath had assumed were simple grated floors were actually pressure-sensitive traps. Plasma cutters, welding torches, and industrial tools deployed from hidden panels, turning the entire bay into a maze of lethal hazards. 2 warriors fell immediately, bisected by emergency bulkhead doors that slammed shut with enough force to crack their exoskeletons. "Advance! They're trying to scare us." Zexthal roared, but his confidence was beginning to crack. They pushed forward into a corridor. Narrow. Too narrow for Krath to move comfortably. The humans, it seemed, designed their ships for efficiency rather than warrior comfort. Every few meters, alcoves and doorways provided cover that favored defenders, not invaders. That's when the shooting started. The first round punched through Cavell's armor like it was paper. Not plasma, not lasers. Something primitive, loud, and devastatingly effective. The warrior collapsed, ichor sprang from the wound. "Chemical propellant weapons," someone shouted. "They're using kinetic rounds." Another burst of fire erupted from a doorway. 3 more warriors fell. The humans weren't trying to wound. Every shot was center mass, methodical, professional. Whoever was defending this ship knew exactly what they were doing. Zexthal ordered his pack to return fire, but the plasma bolts were absorbed by blast shields that dropped from the ceiling. The humans had designed their ships to fight from within. They pushed forward because retreat was unthinkable for Krath. Around a corner, they found their first human. She was small by Krath standards, barely 5.5 feet tall, wearing what looked like maintenance coveralls and a breathing mask. In her hands was one of those primitive kinetic weapons. Humans called them shotguns, the translator helpfully provided. "Wrong ship? Bugs," she said, her voice calm despite the chaos. She fired. The spread caught 2 warriors before they could react. Then she was gone, disappearing through a maintenance hatch too small for Krath to follow. "Coward!" Zexthal screamed. "Face us!" "We don't do honor duels," came a voice from the ceiling. Another human. This one male speaking through the ship's communication system. "We do efficiency. And right now you're standing in section C7. Zexthal looked down. They were standing on another grated floor. Beneath it he could see movement. Liquid sloshing in tanks. "Oh no," whispered his second in command, whose translator had just finished parsing the warning symbols on the walls. Coolant purge initiated. The superheated coolant flooded the corridor in a wave of chemical fire. Krath exoskeletons, designed to withstand plasma, had no defense against industrial chemicals at 300 degrees. Warriors screamed as their armor melted and fused to their flesh. Zexthal retreated, his pack reduced to half strength. They scrambled back toward the breach point, only to find their pod had been sealed from the outside. Through the viewport, they could see a human in an EVA suit, calmly welding the entrance shut. "You wanted to board a human ship." came that same male voice, now carrying a note of grim satisfaction. Let me tell you what you missed in your intelligence briefing. Humans don't build warships and cargo ships. We build cargo ships that become warships when you piss us off. Every tool is a weapon. Every crew member is a defender. And every corridor is a kill zone. The remaining Krath warriors fired desperately at the sealed entrance, but human construction was proving far more resilient than expected. Second lesson, the voice continued. We name our ships things like Murphy's Gambit because we expect things to go wrong. And when they do, we don't panic. We adapt, we improvise, we overcome. Emergency bulkheads began closing throughout the breached section, sealing the Krath into smaller and smaller compartments. The temperature was rising. The oxygen mix was being altered. The humans were using their own ship systems as weapons. Final lesson, the voice said, and now Zexthal could hear the cold rage beneath the words. You picked the wrong species to prey on. Humanity earned its place in the galaxy the hard way. We climbed to the top of our food chain on a death world where everything wanted to kill us. We turned that same planet into a garden. We've survived wars, plagues, extinctions, and ourselves. And you thought you could just board our ship? The laughter that followed was worse than the alarms. It was the laughter of a species that had seen horrors and learned to laugh at them. Zexthal's translator received one final message before his communication equipment failed. You'll be released when we reach the nearest Galactic Council station. Tell everyone what happened here. Tell them that human ships are feared for a reason. We don't need weapons on the hull when every centimeter of the interior is a weapon. We don't need warriors when every human becomes one to defend their home. 3 hours later, the surviving Krath warriors were ejected in an escape pod, their armor stripped, their weapons confiscated. They watched Murphy's Gambit jump to FTL, its engines burning bright. The story spread through the Krath Empire within days. Within weeks, it had reached every corner of known space. The species that had boarded 17 civilizations into submission had failed against a single human cargo ship with a crew of 12. Human vessels became marked in every pirate and raider database with a simple warning: do not engage, do not board, do not approach. Because the galaxy had learned what humans had always known. It's not the size of the ship or the strength of the warrior that matters. It's the determination of the crew and the will to turn every disadvantage into a weapon. Humanity's ships were feared not because they were the biggest or the most advanced. They were feared because humans made them extensions of human nature, itself unpredictable, resourceful, and absolutely unwilling to surrender.